Welcome back. You got about 30 minutes to the pre-open session this morning after big sell-off yesterday. SGX futures still indicating a slightly sluggish start. All eyes on election results, especially Uttar Pradesh. Our panel is with us this morning as always. Dr. Surjit Bhalla joins in from Delhi. Neeraj Devan is with us to get in the market angle, director at Quantum Securities. We've got Shankar, chief economist and political strategist, director at Religate Capital Markets, and of course columnist Cho Ramaswamy and well-known political analyst joining in from Chennai. Sarvendra Srivastava, Shakti Patra are with us as well. I'm just going to quickly, in 60 seconds, sort of read out the leads which are coming in right now from UP. So we've got leads. This is Uttar Pradesh on your screen. For 42 seats, you've got leads coming in. BJP is leading in 16 seats. That's what's coming in right now. SP seems to be coming out ahead in 16. Congress, actually big bump ups for both the BJP and SP compared to the 2007 elections. The change that you see is the increase or decrease in number of seats in terms of leads right now compared to 2007 polls. Congress has got only 4, it's down 1. BSP's got 3, it's down 15. And others are 3. BJP clearly seems to be sort of the big surprise. These are 42 seats and these are live statistics and tallies which are coming up on your screens right now. Good morning, all of you. Thanks once again for being with us here on the show. Mr. Ramaswamy, let me start with you. Your initial sort of thoughts. I mean, of course, these are very early numbers coming in, but this is electronic counting. You get 100 seats and you probably start to get a real trend, or rather which way things are going to trend from there on.
Well, as far as the performance of the BJP is concerned, based on this early results, it is a big surprise. Nobody would have expected it. The exit polls also did not predict this kind of a performance by the BJP, if this is really the trend. As far as the SP is concerned, of course, everyone has been saying from the very beginning, even during the campaign, right, that the SP is going to lead the pack. So that is not a surprise. And nor is this performance of Congress a surprise. BSP going down this badly may again causes one to raise his eyebrows, because they were expected to perform rather badly, but not this hopeless manner.
But this is, I just want to say again, these are early, these are early tallies coming in right now for just 42. I mean, the 403 odd seats which we're talking about. Jay, I mean, would you attach importance to this right now?
It's too early to be.
Too early to call. Dr. Bhalla?
No, clearly it is too early to call, but what it does appear is that in UP, almost the entire shift from BSP is divided half and half with BJP and with the SP in terms of changes. I don't know whether, if this trend were to finally be realized, then I think the exit polls have a lot to answer for as usual, because they completely missed the BJP resurgence.
Just a quick question to you. Let's assume for a second that this trend actually continues. BJP makes a roaring comeback. In the short run, probably Congress is on the back foot, but will the markets actually look ahead that the real reform guys pre-2004 are making a comeback? Will they see that a big positive post-2014?
I don't think so. Look, as I have stated earlier, this thing will have an impact on the, and actually this is the time to start discussing it. There is this, if you will, belief that if the Congress does badly, which it now appears to be the case, though in Punjab they're doing quite well, but if Congress does badly in UP, it'll be a populist type of a budget. Now, one of the reasons for the Congress doing badly in UP is that they did not stress development enough. There are many reasons, but I think while the other opposition parties stressed development, the Congress was saying that, listen, you guys haven't progressed and come back to the fold and all of that nonsense. Now, I doubt very much, if given this result, whether the populist guys in the Congress will get if you will, renewed faith and renewed vigor. So I think regardless of the way the results go, for the Congress in UP, it will have no bearing on the budget, which I continue to believe will not be a populist budget and will actually be quite a reform budget.
Okay, all right. You've got an article in the Indian Express today as well, Dr. Balla. We'll talk about that. It says, you say, no matter who wins, UP election is a turning point for Indian democracy. We'll talk about that as well. I have to take a break here, but we've got leads coming in, actually more updates coming in. And BJP seems to be leading in, what, 20 seats now? SP right behind there, and Congress is doing pretty badly. I mean, so if this continues...
after 200 rallies that Rahul Gandhi went for campaigning.
I mean, if this continues, I mean, that's the big caveat. So they're up, BJP seems to be up 10 compared to the last 2007 polls, 20 leading in 20, SP 18 up 7, Congress 7, BSP 3, others 5. That's the tally in terms of leads which are coming in right now. Take that break. Coming back, we'll continue this chat. We've got about 20 minutes to the pre-open session. To opening 20 minutes to the pre-open session. Panelists with us here, Cho Ramaswamy from Chennai, Dr. Surjit Bhalla from Delhi, Neeraj Devan from Delhi, Shankar here in our Mumbai studios, Sarvendra Srivastav and Shakti Patra here as well, tracking markets. Those are leads coming in as we speak right now. So this is the SP, which has now come out on top 24, leading in 24, BJP leading in 21, Congress leading in 9, BSP in 6. I mean, the most stunning sort of, there are two things here, BJP, the strong showing so far, and BSP, which seems to have been completely decimated, at least that's what leads show right now. But I mean, there's a large state, it'll be too early to sort of call it one way or the other at this stage. Mr. Ramaswamy, just a quick comment. We've heard a lot of people say there are high chances that you might actually get with both the Congress and the BJP at various spokespeople claiming that if they don't get majority, they are happy to sit in the opposition. I mean, you might get a completely hung kind of a house post the elections. I mean, what's your opinion, sir?
No, I don't think the parties will allow that to happen. I think some kind of government will be cobbled up, or somebody will. You see, the pre-poll posturing may not count after the results are out, and somebody may come together, get others from independents and all those smaller groups, and they may form a government. And as everybody is saying, this is too early to say anything about the final results.
Right.
But one thing, we don't seem to have a system which will give us fairly accurate exit polls. It has been again and again the exit polls have been going off the mark. Last elections in Tamil Nadu and the assembly elections, it was terribly off the mark. In fact, the panelists of the TV pounced upon me when I predicted a comfortable majority for the ADMK, because everyone thought I was expressing a desire and not really analyzing the trend. So that is the kind of exercise we have in these exit polls and all that. It's a pity we have not perfected a system for it.
Okay, so basically, I mean, exit polls themselves completely off the mark. I just want to bring in Dr. Bhalla. Dr. Bhalla, how? I mean, so let's just sort of connect whatever happens, and we'll get a real sense by about 9:30 or so to back to the market and back to back to the economy. How do you see things playing out, Dr. Bhalla? I mean, we've spoken about this in the past, but this is an important day.
Yeah, well, two things. One, on the immediate present, that as per your question as to whether the BJP and the Congress will sit out in the opposition, again, projecting these trends, it looks highly unlikely that the BJP will be in a position to form the government, because their presumed ally is the BSP, and the BSP and the BJP are very, very unlikely to get anywhere close to the 200 mark. So therefore, that situation is out, and what you might be getting is indeed the SP and the Congress, natural allies in many ways, which will most likely form the government. I also don't buy this notion about the Congress bravado saying we will sit in the opposition. So I think from projecting and forecasting present trends or extrapolating present trends, it does appear that the SP and the Congress are best placed to form the government in UP. And if you will, if these trends are to be believed, it's actually not a bad day for the Congress outside of UP. In Uttarakhand, they seem to be leading, as well as in Punjab. So, you know, it may not be that bad a day for the Congress. Now, coming to the larger question that I think what we'll be talking about, and I think what people will be talking about over the next several months, is what happens to Rahul Gandhi. He has staked everything, his entire reputation, his entire campaigning ability, everything in UP. And first he did that in Bihar, and that turned out to be a disaster. And but that could be argued, listen, he didn't have enough time. But this one, he's had enough time. And I think, you know, this might mark the beginning of the end of at least the dynastic politics as far as they're associated with the Congress family.
More leads coming in from the other areas as well. Uttarakhand, where BJP and Congress with 7, BJP now with 8 out of the 18 leads that we've got, BSP with 2, SP with 0. Congress and BJP, they're neck and neck. Punjab coming in with Congress in the lead, 11 seats there. Akali Dal with 10, about 22 leads that are coming in. Neeraj, would like to come to you. What kind of a market reaction do you expect if we go by the leads that we're getting?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, yesterday also, based on the exit poll results, you know, there was indication that Congress will not do that well in these UP election results. So something is already got priced in yesterday with the kind of underperformance we saw in the market. I think some more underperformance can happen in the early, you know, day to day, and then of course it will be back to what actually happened in the results. Though in the short term, you know, if Congress is doing really badly and they are not being able to, you know, and SP is not being able to make government, you know, with Congress, that can be a negative scenario for the market. But you know, when BJP getting some share and Samajwadi Party can, you know, take the help of Congress, that can be likely a scenario which is looking right now. So I think after the underperformance which can happen early morning, I think then of course it will happen post the results what actually is there on the picture.
Right.
Dr. Balla, if I can take Neeraj's point forward, I mean, the popular notion in the market is that if Congress does badly, it will be taken as a negative for by the markets. But let's see, I mean, over the last 1.5 years, the market has been blaming the Congress for all the policy paralysis because of whatever reason. Allah is not backing them or whatever reason. So actually, if the Congress does badly, maybe the electorate is sending the right signal. Maybe it should be seen as a very positive thing for the market that the Congress has got the message and maybe they'll do the right things.
You know, Shakti, there are once every 10 days you and I agree, and I completely agree with you on this one. I think it is a very positive development for the Indian economy, for the Indian politics, if the Congress gets soundly defeated or doesn't perform that well in UP. I completely agree with your analysis and the conclusion. I think this will, and basically strengthens my belief that the budget will be a very good one, because the Congress, look, let's look at it in the larger picture, let's get away from the market, etc. What the message is listen, you guys have not performed. You guys have not performed at the center, because obviously they were not there in UP, but if you will, the message is all the extra stuff that we've heard about them, you guys have been dilly-dallying, policy paralysis, not taking decisions, all the rest of it. And now I think this is their chance. So what does Congress have? Congress has only this lever to pull before, if you will, the preparation for 2014 begins. And if they don't perform in the budget, I mean, they are sunk beyond redemption. And I don't think they are that stupid that they will want to give up the battle just yet. So they can have a fighting chance in 2014 if they begin to deliver development, not caste, not religion, not reservations, development. And that is the message.
Right, just a quick point. So, Dr. Balla, I mean, how is the, you know, how will they deliver a good budget? I mean, what is their, I mean, how, is it correct to link the two and say that because they probably have had a bad showing. We don't know that. I mean, they have a poor showing, so they get the message. They have to present a good budget with an eye on 2014. I mean, them saying that we'll do 5% in terms of fiscal deficit has absolutely no bearing for, 99% of the population. Or any such other number, right? In terms of expenditure, that doesn't matter. We know that.
No. Let's decipher this. First and foremost, the contention, at least I've been making, that these elections are irrelevant for the budget. So let's not tie this election to the budget.
Okay, I want to get Shankar in. I want to get Shankar. Are these budgets? Is this election result irrelevant for the budget, in your assessment?
No, they are very much relevant, but I would slightly disagree, in fact, to what Mr. Bhalla said. This can, on the other hand, actually lead to a lot of populism on part of the Congress, because clearly they would feel that the so-called development plank, which again, combined with a lot of other factors, the local factors, the caste factor, the religion factors, have not worked. So the only thing, Congress has been getting back to the populist, if you like, agenda whenever they have fallen short of ideas. And if that is the case, and if nothing seems to be working for Congress in UP, then they would be forced to get back to the same old thing.
So you're saying that if Congress does badly, they'll not blame it on their bad economic policies, but they'll blame it on lack of more populism.
See, it would be naive for us to even believe that the Congress does not know, or the Congress does not, or for that matter the UPA2 does not know what is good for the economy. So just to feel, or just to say that the Congress has would be realized or would be made aware of the limitations or the drawbacks or the negativities of the last 1.5–2 years purely by the UP election, I don't think so.
And Prashant, as we speak, actually Congress leads up higher than BSP. That's stunning. I mean, last time these guys had 200 plus, Congress had 22. Right now they're actually leading BSP. So Congress is actually doing fairly well.
So you're saying it's important. It's important for it's got a direct bearing on the budget, right?
For sure.
For sure. Someone said that the budget is already made. I mean, how does it matter what the election results throw up? I mean, how would you?
It's never made.
It's never made till the. I mean, so you always got.
You always have an alternative.
Okay. So I mean, so if right now it doesn't look like Congress is doing all that badly, and these are early leads which are coming in. But if they do not sort of manage, say, 40–50 seats or so in Uttar Pradesh, you'd say they'd go up in terms of more policies and populist measures with an eye on 2014.
Yeah, that seems to be the most likely outcome, because again, as I said, that if they are falling short of ideas in terms of how to win elections, and they have done everything they could in UP, but even if after doing all those things, and even then if they cannot muster a number of, let's say, 60 plus, then they will have to go populist. I mean, that's the fallback option, if you like.
Yeah. That's an important point. I mean, that Jay made there. The other point that I want to quickly highlight is we all in the market and the marketplace in general is assuming that with the SP and SP Congress government in Uttar Pradesh and SP coming and supporting the UPA2 in the center, reforms will be on a fast track. It's as if the Congress is itching to go ahead with reforms and somehow it's being stopped. That's the assumption which is being made. Mr. Ramaswamy, you want to come in on this? I mean, this entire thing of economic reforms and the only thing which is holding back is the lack of political mandate.
The people have not either voted for reforms or against reforms. The vote is not going to be seen like that. In fact, so much has talked about reservation for Muslims by the Congress and others were opposing it and all that. Well, even that has not mattered, obviously. And as somebody was saying earlier, this is not going to influence the making of the budget. They must be already halfway through it or even more than that. And I don't think the budget is going to be made to suit the vote of the UP, which nobody will read as a vote on the economic situation. The Congress is seen not as a party which delivers. It is incapable of delivering, is corrupt, and is indulging in this politics of the family, and Rahul Gandhi obviously lacks charisma, and so these things are counted. And the people have been fed up with Mayawati in UP. The alternative is not Rahul Gandhi or anybody else. It is Mulayam Singh already there. So that is why the people have gone to him as an alternate. It is a negative vote in favor of Mulayam Singh. Because Mayawati was rejected outright. It has got nothing to do with reforms and markets and all that. I don't see it that way at all.
No. When I say reforms, Mr. Ramaswamy, I don't mean a big, a prudent budget or a fiscal deficit target, etc., etc. I'm talking about, for example, you had the farm loan waiver, right? A couple of years back. I'm talking about those kind of measures to woo the voter with an eye on the general elections in 2014. Would the Congress,
the Congress does it all?
Yeah. Go on, sir.
They put it all the time. All the time the Congress is doing it. Now also they will do it. Not because of the UP elections, but because that is their habit. Trying to win the vote by populist measures.
Right.
They have been doing it. It is nothing new.
Yeah.
But Prashant, just coming back to SGX again, probably I'm just reading too much into a 10-point move in the SGX. Right now, it's moved from about 53.80 to about 52.80 to 52.92, just 10 points. But look at the leads. We've got leads for about 98 seats. Join SP and Congress, you're getting 50. They're in the majority. So that's exactly what the market wanted. With SP coming back to the power with a decent and strong Congress.
Let's have those graphics up.
Yeah, the last graphics we got, SP, the total leads we had was about 98 seats. SP had 35, Congress had 15. Add them, you get 50, 98, you need 50 majority, you are there. So exactly what the market wanted, a strong SP with a reasonably strong Congress, and even a BJP comeback doesn't really hurt the market. They are pro-reform, so market might just shoot up, you never know if this continues.
Alright, so you got 100 leads on 100 seats and
98, 98 right now. Yeah, 98. And
almost 100, and SP and Congress combined are 50, essentially. So the trends do project that if you want to trend it forward, it looks like, the outcome is going to be Congress and SP in Uttar Pradesh.
With a strong BJP.
With a strong opposition. BJP. Yeah. Dr. Bala, you want to come in?
Yeah, basically on this populism business, I quite honestly don't get the logic. It is absolutely clear that the Congress has been a very, very populist government, and therefore for them to continue on the populism when that hasn't worked means that the Congress are stupid beyond everybody's vision. So I think populism will begin to end. I think development will get a positive signal, and the Congress will try desperately in the budget to make it growth oriented, which means make it reform oriented, which means basically less of populism.
Okay, all right, that's Dr. Bhalla's view there. Neeraj, do you want to come in? Yesterday we had a fund manager at a mutual fund house, and he was saying that if it's SP and Congress, I'm going to reduce my cash levels across portfolios. How do you think about it, Neeraj?
Yeah, definitely, the kind of, selling that has been continuing for the domestic people, I think they would be waiting for some positive outcome from UP to put in some cash to work. Plus, and plus post-election, if this is the scenario, if SP, Congress are forming the government, I think this is the last chance for Congress to prove themselves on the reform front. Like Dr. Bhalla also, mentioning, I think this is the time now, post-election, the budget and after the budget is the time, and actually we are looking forward. If nothing happens now, then this is the only time they can prove themselves.
Jay, you toured Uttar Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh, but and you toured UP with a lot of investors. What's the feedback that you got in terms of how they're taking this in?
I think the market is already priced in the outcome that we were discussing. So Congress getting into an alliance to form government in UP in whatever ratio, if you like. Now we know that the Congress and SP need each other. So the SP would need Congress in the state as well as for non-political reasons, and the Congress would need SP at the center because of some of the rising noises among some of its allies. So let's say we'll have to wait for a week or so to see what are the arithmetic changes in UPA 2 that we can actually possibly see. But I think there is another point which we were discussing on the populist measures. We would also need to keep in mind that the elections are 2014. But if the Congress does not have any intentions of bringing forward those that election schedule, then the Congress may actually, or the UPA too, may actually go ahead with a very prudent budget, if you like, and go along the fiscal consolidation
and
path.
wait for the next budget to announce what they want.
So they would want to reserve as much of ammunition as possible this year to go super populist next year.
Jeff, for the markets purely, how much of a difference is a Congress with a very high bargaining power, where SP cannot do without them, cannot form a government without them, and Congress doing fairly well, but...
I mean, the Taj Expressway project was awarded under the last Mayawati regime. So with SP coming on, perhaps it's not being taken very well for the JP Group stocks, and then of course others as well, be JSPL, a couple of others, which we will go along and talk about it. Jay, I mean, 2011 was all about the political economy, so as to speak, right? I mean, who's connected? Although being connected didn't really work well for a lot of people. A lot of people ended up in Tihar. How do you look at it? I mean, so all these connections being made to a particular group of companies, some corporates, some industry houses, etc., etc. Is it a good thing in the current environment? Is it a bad thing? One way or the other?
The 2012 will not be different. You will still have a political economy leading. Let's say, if not leading, and at least superseding the economic policy making itself. And 2011 was slightly different because people were caught napping. The government was getting a very poor media coverage, and was wanting in many senses, in terms of let's say prudent policies, in terms of how you conduct your businesses. So I think that left the government in a very poor light.
Yeah.
So it's high time that the government starts taking measures to actually try and get rid of that impression that it is almost spineless in that sense.
Dr. Bala, it's an important point. I mean, the so-called connected company, right, or connected industry house, or connected corporate house, and how they've fared through the course of 2011. And with this election results starting to come in, I mean, the market is saying that, a particular outcome will favor such and such and such industry, it will sort of disfavor such and such industry and group, etc., etc. How do you think about that in the current environment? Because a lot has changed, at least on the surface, through the course of the last 12 months, 14 months or so.
And I think, while people might be betting on, if you will, the Ambani group doing well because of their links with Samajwadi Party, there are other reasons why they might be doing well. They were way oversold. But I do think, and now you're asking me in the realm of a forecast, but I think these linkages, A, are bad, and B, I think they are declining. So it will not be the case anymore, because there are lots of checks and balances appearing, both legally and outside. And I think this kind of a crony capitalism linkage is definitely on the decline, and that's what I would read into this election result.
All right. Okay, got it. 145, we've got leads on 145 odd seats in Uttar Pradesh out of 403. SP Congress combined is 74. I mean, so this is right there. This is right there with a slight majority. I mean, still coming in.
But Prashant, what's changing is that Congress's bargaining power is fizzling out. So it's -1 now. So 17, they're basically just...
They're not picking up more.
They're not picking up. This is Congress plus RLD. So we have to probably check how much Congress on its own is doing, because we all know the kind of statements that's coming out about Ajit Singh. So Congress is not doing as well as it was doing.
The pace of addition seems to have fallen off.
And so the bargaining power might just fizzle out. I mean, they may not have that much of a bargaining power.
I mean, we spoke about this earlier. So, I mean, Congress stays, and Dr. Bala said even around 40 odd seats for the Congress is just a decent showing. Say they stay under the 30, and SP sort of zooms ahead. Would that be a market positive? I mean, how would that be perceived?
I think that would be market negative if it stays at 30, because from 22 to 30 and all the toil that you have done, the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi's campaign, it's not worth it in that sense. I mean, if you convert 2009 Lok Sabha election seats into assembly seats,
it's about 100.
It's about 100. Now, if you can't get a number, let's say even 75, then that would, and 75 I mean to say even RLD combined, if you can't get that number, and which would imply basically 55 to 60 to Congress, then I think that's below expectations from the market perspective.
But it would be seen as neutral, right? I mean, largely market neutral, I would imagine.
Yeah, that would be market neutral because that's already factored in.
Yeah,
that's factored in.
Yeah, so not hugely positive or anything. Neeraj, you want to cover any thoughts on what we were talking about earlier? ADAC, sugar stocks. I know you tracked some of these sugar names. I mean, some JP Group stocks. I think you like JP Associates at one point. I don't know what you think about it now.
Yeah, I think that can have a very short-term impact, but eventually it will come down to what sort of reform the government is doing at the center, how they're going to benefit the particular industry. Sugar might be, sugar is one which is a undersold kind of a sector where all the negatives are built in. So you can maybe get a, some sort of a rally with Samajwadi Party coming in, because those stocks are really available cheap. And with the sowing season starting now, you start getting some indications of what is happening in the sowing season. So that is one sector where you can get some immediate benefit. But I think otherwise it will all depend on what is going to happen post the election result in the budget and later.
Okay, all right. Got it. We've got firm prices on the